Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I am Dana K. White. I share my personal deslobification process as I figure out ways to keep my own home under control. I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people, people who don't love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 437. And I think I'm going to call it There Really Is No Secret to Keeping the House Under Control, because we all want there to be a secret. And we want it to be the thing that we go, oh, if I just knew that secret, this would all be easy. And there are secrets, right? But they're not really secrets, but you know what I mean, right? That's what we talk about today. So I really enjoyed this conversation with one of my Patreon members. If you would like to be a Patreon member and apply to do one of these, as well as other perks, which you might want to go check out, because we have kind of voomed up our Patreon stuff. So if you want to go find out more about that, you can go to patreon.com/aslobcomesclean and find out more, including we now have a level that has ad-free podcasts. What? Anyway, but yeah, so I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. And don't forget, Take Your House Back is on sale. You want to grab it now. I know it's the week before Christmas, y'all. How is it a week before Christmas? But I know it's a week before Christmas, but you're going to be so glad you have it when Christmas is over and you are ready to tackle your house, because you're going to be ready to tackle your house. All right. For that, go to aslobcomesclean.com/take. And you can also find the links to those in the show notes of this podcast. Okay, here we go. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have this time with you. So tell us a little bit about you and your unique current life situation.
Okay, well, my husband and I have been married 12 years. We were high school sweethearts, so we got married young. And we have 3 young kids. We're right in the thick of it. They're 8, 7, and 5, 2 girls and a boy. And so they keep us on our toes. My husband and I both also work full time. I am an associate pastor at our church. I do music and congregational care, and he's an accountant. And so we both keep really busy with work, especially my work schedule is not like normal 9 to 5 hours. It's weekends and holidays and, all of that. And which is great because the kids are kind of just in the thick of it with us, but it does make things just a little challenging on the home front because we don't have like a normal routine. We also, about 3 years ago, we bought kind of our hopefully forever house. And I started this decluttering slob journey 2 or 3 living situations ago. I don't even remember, but I was always like, well, when we get in our forever house, everything is just going to fall into place. But now we have 3,000 square feet that can just be cluttered or it can be immaculate, just depending on how I do with it. So we do host a lot, so it's nice having a lot of space, but that also kind of forces me to try to keep the house put together.
That is so much space. But do you feel like the fact that you started working on things several living situations ago, are you grateful for that? Like, did you see the impact of it?
100%. 100%. I mean, we, in our last house, where we also lived about 3 years, we had one like large storage area and our 2-stall garage that were just completely like floor to ceiling boxes the entire time we lived there. And we've gotten to the point now where we don't have any spaces like that. And honestly, there's a lot of the house that's a little bit kind of underutilized because we don't own as much. Like I have seen the light that owning not that much stuff is like fully like the way I want to go. But then I have like other people that live in my house and they like owning stuff, and that's
right.
But a source of frustration.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. That's the reality of and the beauty of living with other people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me some things that are working well for you.
So doing the dishes, which honestly, like, it kind of feels insulting to me that it's that easy because it's that easy. Like, I remember a long time ago hearing you say something about how, like, you wanted it to be complicated. Like, you always thought it was going to be, like, some complicated. It's like, no, just do the dishes and then they're not everywhere. So that has been, earth shattering for me because, yeah, I mean, I won't say that they are always done, but I'm always within one dishwasher load, like of them just being done. So it's like, this morning as I'm getting the kids ready for school, it's now become just a thing where they're in the kitchen getting breakfast and I'm, flipping the dishwasher and doing a couple of hand dishes. Although I have a policy of not owning anything that I don't feel comfortable putting in my dishwasher.
I am exactly the same way. I mean, like, and if I'm not sure, I'd rather ruin it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm like, you know what? You don't deserve to be in my house if you can't go in the dishwasher.
I also have the same policy about things in the washer and dryer, like laundry. If they don't go in the washer, they shouldn't be mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm not
agree.
that. I'm
No,
not that.
I love that. And I think too what you said about the like wanting it to be complicated, like there's got to be something that I just haven't realized yet. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that has to be the issue. The issue has to be a mental thing, a secret that
Right.
people are not telling me. And it's like, oh no, it's just that they're doing their dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I found that again, getting rid of stuff to where I can't let myself go days and days and days,
Yep. Yep.
like that has been huge too because yeah, we'll run out of plates. I mean, we don't run out of plates like the first day because we host a lot, so I have to own enough that like we can have the people over that we have over. We have big families, extended families. We'll have 30, 40 people in our house fairly regularly. But like cups, if we don't do dishes in a day and a half, we're out of cups.
Yeah.
And like that's it. So that's good. That's good for
It
us.
is. It is. It feels like it would be limiting, but it's actually freeing for
Yeah.
some bizarre reason. Yeah.
And
So
then I know that my dishwasher will hold the dishes it needs to hold. It's not like, oh, the dishwasher's full and there's a pile in the sink and there's a pile on the counter and like I might as well just give up now.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Love it. So tell me something else that's working really well.
So I will say this one with an asterisk of it works really well when I do it, which is laundry day. The challenge for me a little bit is like I don't have a consistent day every week where I can guarantee that I will be home, but I have found that like the one load a day, which is always what I aspired to, just like I would rewash the same load 3 times because it got left in the washing machine and but we've gotten to the point now where at least all the clothes in the house get clean on laundry day. They don't always get put away on laundry day, but that's where the system sometimes breaks down is just when it's like midnight and I'm like I need to go to bed. I can't. But
Well,
it
and
is the only thing that has helped the laundry mountain.
yeah. And the logic would say that one load a day is best.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's funny because that came up on a YouTube live recently that I was doing. And I guess there were people who hadn't really heard me talk about laundry day before. And so I had so many of the like, oh, that would never work. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm also going to tell you that logically,
Yep.
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Well, and the funny thing is, I would have sworn up and down that I would have had to do 12 loads. Like,
Yes.
there's 5 of us in the house. I would have promised you that it would have taken me 12 loads, and I can't do 12 loads of laundry today. It takes me four. 4 loads is all it takes for a week's worth. Like, that is a reasonable amount of laundry to do in a day. But I didn't know because I would actually have every article of clothing in the house dirty
Yes.
before I would try to do the laundry day. And so then it was 12 loads, but 1 week's worth of clothes is 3 or 4.
Yes. Right. It's laundry math. It's the same as dishes math. Like, and not knowing what I didn't know, like convincing myself that I knew
Hmm.
because I'm an intelligent person. I mean, like really,
Yep.
truly, you
I
look at things and
also I also thought it took hours to fold and put away clothes.
yes, me too.
Although I do have a secret to admit. I don't fold my kids' clothes. We have like a basket system, open baskets. I just drop them in I sort them into the basket because they just tear through their drawers anyways and unfold everything. And I'm like, that's just how we live now.
Yeah. No, I love it. I actually saw something. I'm sure somebody sent it to me because people send me stuff like this all the time, but it was like a study that was done in the 19 somethings, at the time where kids were like what now seems formal, wear to school, like a button down shirt and stuff. And they had done some study over like the wrinkled stuff, like that wasn't bothered, nobody bothered to iron it, which, you had to iron more
Right.
when things were air dried, right? And so, the thing that nobody had bothered that wasn't ironed versus the ironed thing within like 2 hours of being at school or something, and showing that they're like exactly the same. Like it didn't matter, And I just thought that was really funny. But the other thing too that I want to say to those listening who maybe haven't heard us talk about laundry day before is like, so there's 2 chapters in How to Manage Your Home about it. And it's funny because it was like, they were like, this is the longest chapter ever. And I'm like, because it's the one that we have so much resistance to. But at the same time, if the one load a day works, that's exactly what someone should do. Like there's no reason to change. It's only whatever works for you is what
Yeah.
matters. Yeah.
Yep. And I think for the longest time, I was just convinced that one load a day didn't work because of my life. Like we've gone through a lot of really busy seasons where we were in school and raising kids, or, I was just in school again recently raising kids. Like, I'm like, well, when we're out of this season, that's when that's when the one load a day is going to make sense again. But we never have the consistency. And honestly, to be fair, I am not a great routine person anyway. So like I just don't have a great consistency to do it. And this way I can just not think about it for 6 days. And those 6 days are glorious. One day a week, I do hate it. Like I don't enjoy doing laundry. I hate it. But I only have to hate it one day a week.
So do you do it on the same day every day, every week?
I do it on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. So I have sort of like a vague laundry weekend day, depending on what day I am not working that week.
No, I love it. I think it's really important for people to like understand that there's boundaries, but you get to decide what they are and you get to change them whenever you want to. Like, like the
Yeah.
boundaries are only there to be helpful. They're not there to be restrictive.
Yeah, I found it's better for me even if I have to wait a couple of days before I can do laundry day. It's still better than being like, I'm just gonna quick throw a load in. I only have to, because it just like gets me off my cycle,
Yeah.
and you know, and then I
Yeah.
end up with just piles. I don't like piles everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I think as you say that, I'm sitting here thinking about how I feel like so much of the value is the gathering up of all the stuff.
Mhm.
Because when I'm only doing a load, I will only see what's in front of me and I'm not going around and gathering up. And so it's like I do a load and then realize there were 3 things that should have gone with that load somewhere else. And now they're like in their own weird, they have to wait for, and I know there are people out there who are like, I just throw it all together. Good for you, whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of messes all that up. But the gathering of everything is part of the value of it. Love it.
And it just feels good. Like, I don't know, I get that little bit of satisfaction when I know that my laundry is caught up. Like it's
Yes.
done. It's not very long before one of my kids spills something on something, but like there's just that little glimpse of like, you know.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So tell me something you want to talk about.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a slob trait or just a personality flaw of mine, but I am very much like an all or nothing person. Like I will put my heart and soul and guts into like whatever it is that I'm doing, unless I'm not really into doing it, in which case I'm not going to do it at all. Like I'm just. So that tends to translate into the way that I take care of my house because, like I'll be just in the zone and just everything is going to be immaculate. And that's great. And I love that. Honestly, it's like such an emotional, psychological high, just like having my house be, immaculately clean. The problem is that, like, again, I live with other people and even I live with myself. I can't really blame everyone else. Like, but the worst is, I'll get home from work on Mondays. I work 12-hour days because of rehearsals and everything else. I'll get home. My kids will have been home for several hours and it's not immaculately clean. Like last night I got home at, you know, 9:30 p.m. from work and there's just a bag of popcorn that has been strewn while my husband was in the other room doing something else. And then there's toys mixed in with the popcorn and that for me it's like, okay, now the house is wrecked. now I might as well just let it descend into chaos. Like, I struggle with that kind of pendulum swing of like, the house is clean, so clean that like I'm going to be picking up the kids' toys as they're playing with them because I want to keep it clean. Or like I'm
Hmm.
going to take that cup and wash it before you've actually finished all of it because it's sitting there on my otherwise clean counter. Or it's like, well, now there's a pile of dishes because, I went to bed instead of doing them last night. Might as well just let it descend into chaos. And I mean, I don't think those words to myself, but that's effectively kind of how I tend to be. So I guess like I want to be able to relax and enjoy things that are mostly in control because my house is, I mean, compared to, what it was for a long time, my house is mostly under control most of the
Hmm.
time. But it feels like there's just kind of two extremes for me. And I guess my question is, do you have any advice for how to balance those tendencies?
I definitely think it is a trait of those of us who struggle with clutter, the all or nothing thing. I tend to be that way as well, but I do want to be clear that I don't see it as a personality flaw anymore. Like I don't. I mean, like I'm sorry. I'm like we're kind of awesome people. So I mean, because the reality is you're a highly creative person. It allows you to do what you do. It allows you to do the 12-hour days with an artistic endeavor that you are, focused on. Like the world needs people like us, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just go, okay, this is part of who I am. And that actually was a big thing for me in finally making progress was going, okay, this is my brain, right? Like I do throw myself into it. So I'm either all about it or I'm all like, oh, whatever, I mean, like it. So I totally relate to what you're saying. The thing you mentioned, like you're not great with routines, right?
Yep.
Except that you have gotten dishes to the point where you're never more than a dishwasher load away, right? You've seen the value of laundry day. You've seen it, the value enough to be able to make that adjustment and go Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. One of these days is going to be laundry day, and it comes around again, and you do that. So I want to make sure you understand that maybe the way you assume other people have routines down, maybe that makes you go, oh, I'm not really, good at routines, but you actually do. Like you've come a long way. You've seen the value of decluttering to the point where it makes the things easier, but you have some things that you do that. So my answer for you would be to when you have that feeling, because I get that feeling, right? You're like, this is great. And then there's things that are out of place where that maybe didn't bother me so much when the house was out of control
Yep.
because it was just kind of one of a lot of things, but it's like, no, I'm doing so good. I'm like picking up immediately before they're even done playing. Like I'm doing so good, and it feels like one little thing is going to tip it into chaos, right? And
Yeah.
so okay, so the 5-minute pickup is everything. So when you have that feeling, say, okay, maybe I'm not great at always remembering to do the 5-minute pickup every single day at such and such time or whatever, which maybe you are, but
Oh,
like that was me, is to say, I'm having this feeling. The way I'm going to deal with this feeling is to do a 5-minute pickup
yeah.
and see if the 5-minute pickup will take away this feeling that I'm having, right? So are you saying that you have things under control,
Mhm.
you get that feeling of, oh my word, what's the point? And then it goes out of control, right?
Kind of, yeah. Or just, I'll have a couple of days where I'm really not home during waking hours. And then, in the space of those couple of days, the house just sort of descends into
Oh,
chaos.
yeah.
It does. And then I get in project mode. Then I think, well, I might as well not do anything until I have time to do a full reset, get everything back to the way I want, And so it's like, I kind of, because it's not as satisfying to me when 5-minute pickup is not going to get me back to immaculate. You know what I mean? Like it's
Is not or does not? Like, are you predicting that or have you proven that?
oh, uh that's fair. I mean, To some extent, I think it's a little bit of both, when it's really bad, especially if I haven't been home for a couple days and the dishes haven't gotten done, I'm like, I know that this is not all going to get done in 5 minutes. But sometimes probably it is me just sort of projecting my own sense of overwhelm onto the mess. Actually, the popcorn and toys mess from last night definitely did only take me 5 minutes to clean up this morning. But last night, I remember just thinking, this is going to take me all night. I can't even, and it
Do
really,
you set the timer for the 5 minute pickup, or do you just do it and think
I've done both.
vaguely?
I've done both ways. I do like setting the timer. Actually, probably the main thing is I know myself, and I know that once I actually start cleaning up and feeling progress, most of the time I'm gonna want to do more than 5 minutes. And so I'm like, so sometimes I'll set myself as a timer or set myself the timer, and then I'm like, well, but I don't want to be done right now. But then I like reverse psychologize myself, and I'm like, am I trying to trick myself into doing something I don't want to do? I think way too deeply about these things.
No, well, that's how I make a living, is with thinking way too deeply about these things. So I get it. I mean, I think set that timer,
Yep.
say tonight or the morning, whatever, whenever it is. I'm just going to do 5 minutes, and maybe take a picture before the 5 minutes, set that 5 minute timer, take another picture at the end of 5 minutes, and see that, because it's the 5 minute thing is a way to get myself going because it's such a short period of time.
Yep.
But it's also a way for me to go, I'm just going to do 5 minutes because I'll be 5 minutes better off
Mm-hmm.
because of the 5 minutes that I do, or I'm going to prove to myself what I can do in 5 minutes. But like changing it from being like an attempt to trick yourself, right? Because that's
Yeah.
my thing I rebel against. I'm like, I don't like being tricked even by myself. So if I think that's what I'm going to be doing, it's like, no, I'm really, truly, I'm irritated right now. I'm frustrated. I feel like I'm at that tipping point that I've been at before. I'm just going to do 5 minutes. And then the power of the decluttering that you've done, do things generally have a place, like an actual place? Is the majority of your stuff easy at this point, or
It is for the vast majority. I've gotten to the point where, yeah, if I ask the decluttering questions and, I'm pretty ruthless with getting rid of stuff if it doesn't have a home. Also, if it's just like too much of a pain to put it, like if it's not worth it to me to take it there now, I just get rid of it.
that's so completely valid, because it reveals the value of something when you're like, oh, I'm not willing to walk across the house for this.
Especially
um
when you're like, if I'm upstairs in my bedroom on the second floor and I realize that its home is downstairs in the basement in the storage room, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go down and back up 2 flights of stairs each way. No, I'm not doing that. It's going in the bin.
yeah, yeah, no, I think it's great. Yeah, so I would really zero in on the 5 minute pickup. I would, I don't know if your kids are in bed by the time you get home on these nights, but bringing them in on
Yeah.
5 minute pickups whenever possible, and your husband, if that's a possibility. So like bringing the whole family in on that. They are at the age where, have y'all done 5 minute pickups as a family much?
Do. And probably the biggest challenge the kids have with them is they don't like it if we get done with the 5 minutes and the room is not done. It's like some sort of an overwhelming sense of failure. Like they assume that I'm going to be upset if the 5 minutes are done and the room is not completely finished.
Hmm.
So then we end up spending 3 of the 5 minutes arguing about, no, it will just be 5 minutes. I promise it'll just
Yeah.
be.
Well, and that's something that will take time.
Yeah.
It may take several weeks of 5 minute pickups. And also the reminder that the 5 minute pickup is the report card for whether or not you're under your clutter threshold. So it's like, if 5 minutes isn't enough, then we need to get rid of some more stuff. But, like, let's just do 5 minutes a day, every day for this week, so that we can kind of see, you know,
Yeah.
first of all, hopefully get into that zone of like, oh, she really means 5 minutes. So I'm actually going to use those 5 minutes and all that. But
Yep.
it takes
My
time. Yeah.
my 8-year-old is definitely like getting on the same page about it.
Yeah.
Like my 5-year-old, he's just like, he wants all his toys to be out. Like that
Yeah.
That's not a problem for him. He wants them all to be out all the time. But my 8-year-old is very much getting to the point where she understands. Actually, not only is she thrilled that I'm going to be on the podcast because she listens to the podcast,
Oh, yay.
but also this morning she was like, "Mom, it's getting to be close to Christmas. When are we going to go through the toys?" Because every year before Christmas, we go through and declutter all the toys in
Mhm.
preparation for the new stuff that's coming in. And she told me she's like really looking forward to that because then there's not all the broken little random bits in the toy bins and like that
Oh,
kind
I
of
love
thing.
it.
So she's seeing the positive of everything, which is good because sometimes decluttering with kids can be kind of excruciating,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but they're all starting to get a little more on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing that works for that is keep it on doing. I was going to say consistency, but even I think sometimes we get freaked out by that idea of I've just got to be consistent. It's like, no, we just got to do a 5 minute pickup today. And then tomorrow we'll do one when we think about it, that kind of thing. So I would just really say try to match that feeling of, oh no, it's all over with, I'm going to do a 5 minute pickup, an actual 5 minute pickup and see what happens just as an experiment.
And I think sometimes for me, it's hard to shift my ideal. Like in my mind, the ideal is that my house is not only like company ready, but like magazine photo ready at any moment. Like that's this picture that I have in my head. But really, honestly, I can settle for being a 5 minute pickup away from company ready at any like that would be really a better goal, but I struggle with like this perfectionism of like, but what if someone's gonna come in and they want a tour of my, basement storage closet? Like I want it to be perfect all the way through, and it's maybe not as realistic.
Yeah, I would really focus on. So you said you've come a long way and
Yes.
you do a lot of hosting.
Yeah.
What is your stress level now for hosting compared to your stress level in the past for hosting?
So, I mean, it used to be, we've always hosted a lot, but it used to be hosting consisted of gathering up all the stuff from around the house, putting it in laundry baskets, throwing it in the master bedroom, locking the door, throwing it in the closet, lock it. So basically, it was just creating doom boxes and piles,
Mhm.
hiding those, doing a long clean of the kitchen because I had to get through all the backlog of dishes, whatever. So it would be you know, a process to get to the point where I would want to have people over. And there were always rooms I was definitely afraid of people opening the doors to, and several of them usually. And now it's to the point where if I know that people are coming in an hour, I could have the house looking quite presentable. Now, I will say like the kids' bedrooms tend to be kind of maybe the last holdouts of clutter because I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
spend a lot of time in the kids' bedroom. So, but I'm also like, you know what? I don't know if the people that are showing up from church are going to care if my kids' bedrooms are clean on the second floor.
Right.
Um, but we can get all the main living areas of the house company ready probably in an hour, which is I'll acknowledge a vast improvement. I still want it to just be like, but I walk in the door from
Yeah.
work and it's like a hotel, like
Yeah.
that.
I don't think, I know, that's not realistic, right? Like, I know, so it becomes that issue of how do I change my focus to appreciating that I'm at the point where a 5 minute pickup can make a difference. So I mean, I would recommend that you try the before and after 5 minutes photos for a week or two,
Mhm.
and just to show yourself and really start to get it in your mind, the power of the 5 minute pickup for your home that is for the most part decluttered, right? Like, so I think it's that acknowledging. It used to be a huge ordeal to have people over, and I had people over, which meant I was living with a constant, like, okay, when is somebody coming over and I'm going to have to do the whole house overhaul thing. And I don't have to do that anymore, but it just, I think it's that the 5 minute pickup is the answer, right? Like it just
Yeah.
is. And so giving yourself some visual proof of that and make a folder on your phone when you start to have these frustrations and be like, oh, no, no. Oh, that's right. I can get it back in 5 minutes
Yeah.
or.
And maybe part of it is just kind of attempting to give myself the grace that like it doesn't need to be like the fact that it gets messy sometimes is not some sort of moral failing.
Right.
Um, because whenever one of my friends will invite us over and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my house is a mess." Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't
Right.
bother me, but I project that, like, of course, everyone expects my house to be immaculate at all times. So,
Right. 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 And to know that maybe the friend whose house you don't care about, maybe they need to see that. That was one of my things is I realized how many people in the world struggled with this. And I went, okay, my goal doesn't need to be perfection. My goal needs to be function. Right. And so if my goal is function and I can have people over and I did miss something, I did not have time to deal with something, and there's a pile here or, spider web here or whatever, then I just go, okay, maybe they needed to see that. Maybe they needed to see that my house isn't perfect all the time. I don't know that
yeah.
anybody has ever expected my house to be perfect all the time. But you know what I mean? Yeah.
Hmm.
I try to
Oh,
shift my thinking that way. Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah.
So what's another situation you want to talk about?
Okay, so I have like I will tell anyone that asks or doesn't ask about the where would you look for it first rule because it has been life-changing for me as someone who really didn't understand the idea of like a place for everything. Like I thought having a place for everything just meant you had physically the cubic footage for everything, not that you like had a specific place for like this one thing to go.
Which then it makes it impossible when you feel like your house is not big enough.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So when we moved into this house, I had already been a follower of the your methods for long enough that like that's how I determined where stuff went when we moved into this house was like, okay, where would I look for this? The problem a little bit, which I realize this is like such a first world problem, is like we tend to have spaces in our house that are just like very underutilized because like maybe there wasn't like a one for one analog of our old house to our new house. And so it's like, here's a whole closet we never had before. I wouldn't instinctively have thought to look there for anything versus we have this one coat closet in our mudroom where it's like where my brain often would look for random things, painting supplies and flashlights and we've got cleaning supplies in there and coats and shoes and but just like it's kind of a I'll look for everything there first. That's and so I guess my question is there a way to sort of purposefully change the location of some things without sort of wrecking the where would I look for it first? Because it's like I don't want to just lose stuff or fill space just to fill space, but I also like it would be really helpful if my mudroom could be mostly for coats and not for other things, you know?
Yeah. No, I think naming the spaces would go far. Like,
Okay.
and it might take a little bit, right? Like it might take a minute of where would I look for it first? I went, wait a minute. No, I have we have a room like that, right? Like we have an actual room that for some reason, I love it so much because it reminds me of my grandma's basement. And we don't have basements in Texas. And so,
Sure. Yep.
yeah. So, but I love it. And we call it our stock room. I think it's actually a Seinfeld reference, but anyway, he's like, "Oh, where's the stock room?" Anyway, but like we never had a space like that before. But calling it the stock room because when we first moved in, we'd be like, the room behind the laundry room, and but it's like, no, the stock room. So that's where we keep our extra toilet paper, extra paper towels, extra, all that kind of stuff. Like, and it just becomes that thing. So it's like for you, if you say this is the coat closet, this is the identity of this closet. And this is the craft supply closet. And you start calling it the craft supply closet. You refer to it as the craft supply closet. You show it to your kids and you say, this is the craft supply closet. And when you do crafts, you're like, okay, go put it back in the craft supply closet. I think giving it that name,
Mm.
not that you can't have something that is, oh, well, we keep our painting supplies in the coat closet. I mean, like that, but even just giving it that name
Yep.
means that this is its primary function. And that I think that helps in a new house.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think something that frustrates me is like we have the shoes, and shoes are just their own. I don't
Yes,
know.
they are.
They're
Yes.
they're just a whole. They're a problem.
Yes.
But like we have the shoes in the bottom of our coat closet, but like that's also where we keep our mops and brooms and things. And sometimes it's literally just me going in and like tossing all the shoes back into the shoe closet, and then I'm trying to shut it, and then the broom handle is,
Yeah.
and the problem is I like that's where I want my cleaning supplies to because
And
it's
that's fine.
right
That's
off the
perfectly
unit.
fine. Like, and that's what I'm saying is if this is
Yeah.
the coat closet and we keep our broom in the coat closet, okay. But you said brooms and mops.
Yes.
Okay. So is it possible that if it's going to be the coat closet, the reality is we only have room for one mop and one broom
Hmm.
because it's a coat closet? If we
Yep.
had a mop and broom closet, then we've got room for multiple mops and brooms. But the reality is it's the coat closet and I keep my mop and broom in there. And if I try to keep more than the bare minimum on that, then that's when they all fall out.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I've even tried relocating the shoes out of that closet because like, because that's kind of where I have all my cleaning supplies and stuff set up. We have like hooks that the kids' coats can go on. So I've actually kind of tried to solve the problem the opposite direction, which is like purging down the coat closet stuff so it
Mhm.
can effectively just be a cleaning closet. But then the shoes are just like everywhere because we can't keep any like nitpicky shoe organization system will fail. Anything more than just sort of a bucket or like a toss it in the closet kind of a situation.
So this becomes one of those things where tackle it every day on purpose for 7 days. So like for seven, say for this week, I am going to put the shoes in the place where I look for shoes. I'm going to deal with the shoes every day for 7 days so that they don't, you know, I don't know about you, but it becomes a sea of shoes, right?
Yes.
When people just kind of kick them off in the general direction of something, of the
Hmm.
space where you, in your mind, they're going. So it's like, I'm going to deal with these shoes. We're going to deal with them every day for 7 days. And then as you do that, you're going to see what's working, what doesn't, what's causing the problem, and be able to figure out how this will work better in your home.
Yeah.
But it's fine to say we put our coats in the cleaning supply closet. Like that's fine too. I mean, like, but giving it an identity of saying this is its name
Mhm.
might allow you to use that other closet.
Yeah.
I'm
Kind
gonna,
of on the opposite end of the spectrum, like we have a big closet in our master bathroom that's basically underutilized. We use one shelf of it where we keep extra pillows, but then the rest of it is just kind of like a clutter magnet because it has no purpose. Like
yeah.
I don't like to keep towels in there because like the kids need to get at the towels and so I want them.
Mhm.
And like I keep medicine somewhere else and I keep like I don't keep anything in it. And so then it just breeds just junk. And so for that one, I'm like, I'd like to find something to sort of relocate there, but I haven't yet figured out what that should be. I'm like, there's pockets of like over the clutter threshold in the house, but then
Yeah.
there's, kind of the opposite. There's pockets of just like void, and void attracts clutter.
So what are you storing in the basement that you have that is, a trek to get there
Yep.
that you're consistently going down to the basement to have to get it and you get irritated because you're like this is so far to go for something that we actually do use all the time. Is there something a category like that you could rename this space that?
So probably the only thing that would fall into that category, my storage room is not full. Like we have a small storage room in the basement, and literally because I hate carrying stuff down to the basement so much,
Mhm.
I just got rid of so much stuff that would have otherwise gone down there because I didn't feel like
Which is a
hauling it.
totally valid option. Yes, that's a great solution.
Probably the only thing that I really even go into the storage room for is like home decor. Like if I'm gonna, I don't know, I like to keep little things, but I'm kind of a minimalist at heart. So it's like I rotate things out.
Mhm.
And so I have a couple of bins. I've purged down to like 2 totes worth of, doodads and knickknacks and picture frames and things that I might kind of
Mhm.
rotate out. And those live in my storage room in the basement. And so that's really, if I'm like taking down something, putting up something else, those are the things that I tend to haul in and out of the storage room or our Christmas decorations, but those are once a year and I make my husband do that. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I moved our Christmas decorations to our guest room closet,
okay.
and I just said this is a decent little closet. I mean, it's not like major walk-in closet, but you can walk into it, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, here's some space. And it really helped me purge my Christmas stuff but I was like, no, my whole goal is that I don't want to have to go out to the barn to get
Mm.
the Christmas decorations. Like, so I would rather have fewer Christmas decorations that will fit in this space. And it's almost time as we're recording. Who knows when this is going to go out, but as we're recording, like it's getting close to time to think about that stuff. And I do have to go, oh, that's right. They're up in that closet right now, like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And so it is an adjustment, but it helps that it was an identity that I gave it. Like I named this my Christmas decoration closet.
Yeah.
So,
And honestly, if I did it as a home decor closet, that would make sense because that's where that shelf of extra like throw pillows and stuff that I keep in there anyways. That's just because I don't want it getting yucky in the storage room because
yeah.
it's like unfinished down there. So,
Yeah. No, I get it.
but
Okay.
that's a good idea. I could do that. And then I would at least get to look at the pretty things from time to time. Because that's the other thing is like I don't keep a lot of them out because again, I've learned my clutter threshold cannot be lots of little vignettes everywhere on
Yes, me
every
neither.
surface. But then it does make me kind of sad because there are a few things that I've sort of like, acquired and curated that I just don't look at very often. So at least if they were in a closet I could see sometimes.
Right.
That
Yeah. Well, and who knows? That might make it easier to do the shifting and the
yeah.
switching out and all that.
I
Yeah.
I genuinely don't do as much. I used to do a lot more kind of rotating things and decorating for the seasons and I don't do as much just because of life and chaos, but also because it's a pain. So
Yeah. 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 Okay, let's talk about something else.
okay, so
That sounded like a weird transition. Sorry. Let's talk about something else.
that's fine. Um,
No,
point
let's
point
talk
taken.
about another situation that you wanted to cover.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, one of my main struggles with clutter is kind of my tendency towards doom boxes. Just like the can't make decisions, don't have time, whatever it is, throw it in a bin. Laundry baskets are my favorite personally. And then they just end up everywhere. And I've gotten to the point where I've purged out all the doom boxes. My garage was really
You.
it was the final frontier. I mean, no house I have ever lived in as an adult have we been able to park a car in the garage, including this house for, the first 2.5 years. So this summer we tackled the garage as a decluttering project. And we had done it in phases before, where we would work on it, we'd just kind of layer by layer. But we went through every box and got rid of a bunch of stuff, filling the car, going to Goodwill and pitching tons of stuff and whatever. So that was very exciting because now, I mean, honestly, the real reason is I got a new car, like a car that I actually cared about and I wanted to park it in the garage. So there was some external motivation there. But we got it to the point where I could put the car in. We've got the kids' bikes, we've got like an area for tools and whatever. The problem is I have really determined the source of my doom boxes now is crap that comes out of the car because there's a lot of days where I'm dropping the kids off at school, I'm going to work, I'm going to meetings, I'm picking the kids up from school, I'm bringing them back to church with me because I have rehearsals at night and they're going to hang out in my office and they're going to, whatever. So there's a lot of days we are just either not home at all or it's a quick drop the kids off, trade them with my husband, go do, back and
Hmm.
forth sports, whatever. And so the car is kind of our home away from home and it's usually trashed. Like even even if my house is immaculate, my car is probably just trashed. Then it'll be like, oh, I need to give so and so a ride. My car can't be trashed. Oh no, I forgot about it until just now this second. Quick, I'm gonna take a grocery bag and fill it with things. And so then there will be bags and boxes of car vomit.
Yeah.
Um, and they work their way into the garage or into the mudroom, or occasionally they make it all the way back up to my bedroom. But it's like, I just can't figure out how to conquer the clutter in my car, and then it's sort of, the way it extrapolates everywhere else. It is just, a source of endless frustration. So I don't know if you have any advice for that.
So I've got some theory advices,
Okay.
but in reality, advices. What I've got some theory advice, theory based advice. In reality, I struggle with my car big time, right? Okay. But what I'm hearing you say is that you have your garage under control to where you can park two cars in it. You're very excited about that. That is valuable, right? But then cleaning out the car in a hurry causes
Mm,
the issue, right?
yes.
So, idea would be okay, can I have a trash can right where my car is? Right? Like, can I even if it's a small trash can, is there a way I can have a trash can there and then a container for the stuff that I have to throw out? I mean, that I have to pull out of the car quickly and needs to be put away, right?
Yep.
So that ideally, in an ideal world, you would throw things away and then take things immediately to their homes. But we all know that it generally, what you're talking about, and I know this from my own personal experience, is like, oh my word, I have to go pick somebody up right this second. Right. And so I literally am just, so it's like, so if there's a trash can, then it's as easy to throw stuff into the trash as it is into the bin, the
Yep.
container of stuff to deal with that I'm going to have to deal with later, so that it's just there. And then that is a defined space that is for that purpose, which then hopefully would trigger when, oh my goodness, I've done this 3 times now and this bin is like starting to get overflowing. I've
Yeah.
I've got to go put things away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that would be helpful. Actually, I can picture a universe. We have like a tool bench, but we're not tool people. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have a tool bench for the rare occasion when we need to fix something, but it's right next to where I park my car in the garage. And that is typically where I just pile stuff. But there's like a little opening underneath. I could put a trash can under there. I almost wonder if I could have a bin for stuff that is not trash, but I need to put it away. And then maybe I'll put like a little bin for dishes, because we are an eat breakfast in the car family most
Mm-hmm.
days of the week, because that is just how life goes. And so then a lot of times my fun piles of doom end up including trash, school papers that I didn't have time to deal with right at that moment, the kids' toys, random articles of clothing that they've discarded. I really don't actually know how that happens. Like, are they stripping in the car? Like, why do we have pants in the car? I don't know.
Sometimes we just can't ask the questions. We just we don't want to know the answers.
Because, like, there is an unconscionable amount of laundry that just generates from my car. But specifically dishes are one thing that are an endless source of frustration, because like my car will just all of a sudden develop a smell, and it's like, oh, it's actually because so and so was eating a bagel on the way to school and then they didn't finish it, and so they shoved it under the front seat of the
Yeah,
car.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've gotten to the point where sometimes I just throw dishes away if I find them having been
I
in a box covered
yeah,
in, I don't
yeah.
know.
I no, I get it. And I think I get what you're saying. I would start with with trash in one container,
Okay.
because otherwise the more containers you have, the more stuff you can put in there, the more you can hold off, right? And so if our goal is for it to not be something that grows and grows and grows, and instead is a trigger that, oh my word, I've got to go put these things away in this moment, I would go with as minimal
That's fair.
opportunities for putting things out. And I get what you're saying, right? Um but the goal would be that container, and it's not be huge, right?
Mhm.
but that container would be small enough that it would be trigger that it needs to be dealt with, and I would deal with it before the dish got to the point where I just needed to throw it away.
Yes. Well, I think part of it stems from like, I love that your method does not include keep boxes,
Right.
but also a keep box is just like my spirit animal, right?
I
Because
know.
just, it's all the
But your keep
decisions.
box is what got you into this
It is.
issue,
It is.
right?
It
And
is. It's
so that's the thing, is we don't want this to turn into a keep box.
yes.
And so it really is just for the reality that, and again, as I said, this is based in theory because my car is a disaster, right? Like, so, and it always is. And I never try to pretend like I've got the answer for you on the car. Like, we're just kind of brainstorming here on what to try.
See, and I'll even settle for like I've kind of given up on my car not being a disaster most of the time. It's really just like it's mostly frustrating when that mess breeds and then it moves back into the places in my house that have been under control otherwise. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I feel like
Yes.
because I
Which
had,
is the reason for the container, is the reason for
yeah,
the limiting how much can get to that point.
yes.
And the other thing too is the experience that I do have is that emptying the doom boxes also helps me to identify things that are going to end up in a doom box. You know what I mean? Like, I did before it
Yeah.
comes into my house. So like the going through that, the pain, the frustration of it helps me to identify things that, you know what, if I would throw this away now, or if I would deal with this thing now, it won't get to this point, and it
Mhm.
helps me in the future.
Yeah. I think like I found this is kind of unrelated, but I found that laundry, again, because the car generates laundry in anywhere of my house other than like our laundry is on the second floor. That's where our washer dryer is. That's where all of our bedrooms are. So when I moved into this house, I had this naive belief that there would never be laundry anywhere else in the house other than on the second floor because that's where all the bedrooms are, that's where the bathrooms are, that's where the laundry washing machines are. And so when I find like doom boxes in my garage full of dirty laundry, I just think why and how and like I don't know. It's just so
Well,
frustrating.
and it kind of, so one thing to do on that would be like, are your kids involved at all in the gathering of clothing for laundry day?
Not really. They help put away clothes.
Okay.
So I will like I don't separate by kid like before I do the laundry. So then
Mhm.
after it's washed, I put it in a basket for each of them and I have them put away. But I don't usually have
Right.
them help before then.
Well, maybe seeing if there's a, let's everybody bring me your clothes, your dirty clothes, and if there's a way to remember to go get clothes out of the car. You know, like
Mm,
that's one of the places that we need to be gathering clothes from for laundry day,
oh,
because
that's
this is a
great.
consistent thing that,
Yeah. Yeah, because I found dirty clothes in our pantry before. My 5-year-old especially thinks it's hilarious to just bring his new outfit for the day somewhere in the house behind any closed door. He might be getting.
that's hilarious. And that's reality. Yep. Yep. No, I
Um,
mean, I've got one who's moved back home, and I'm like, where are all these socks coming from that are
oh,
just
I
like,
got to the point. I got to the point where when I was starting to really do laundry day more consistently, I had just like this big basket of socks that don't have a mate. I mean, a large basket of socks that don't have a mate, and I'm like every load that's coming through, I'm trying to I eventually threw away the whole basket. I'm like,
yeah,
this is dumb. I'm not doing this anymore. Why do I have all these socks that and it hurt my soul but it was so freeing because now like I don't have that anymore. But
yeah,
also now I'm like, why do we even have to own so many socks? Like do it.
for real,
Yeah.
for real. Yeah.
But I think my husband gets a little bit scared sometimes because I'll get a mood and I'm like ruthless about it.
Yep. Well, this has been fun. Have I solved all of your problems?
Every single one. Yes. Now you
Okay.
can just also do my Christmas shopping for me. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually sounds fun. Okay, so tell me, what is your favorite thing about being a kindred spirit?
So by far, it has been kind of like the validation of having a group of people who think the same way that I do, who will not judge if I post a picture of my house messy or clean. Like, I just, they're always relentlessly positive. And honestly, there are so few spaces on social media that are like that anyways.
Right?
So just having like a whole group of cheerleaders that are like, whatever is, tripping me up or whatever I need to celebrate, like they're just there for it. And that has been just so positive and so encouraging. I love it.
I'm so glad. Tell me, I feel like I've got one more question, right? No, that was, well, I was awkward there, wasn't I? Anyway, no, this has been so fun. I appreciate so much you coming on the show and being willing to share with the world what you're working on. And it's so fun to hear the progress that you've made, right? Like that is so encouraging, I
Well,
think,
and
to people.
when I applied to be on this show, I don't know, I think it was over a year ago. One of the questions I had put was, I don't know how to get through my garage. I don't know how, like, that was one of my biggest frustrations. And like, I've dealt with that now. Like, that's not actually a problem for me anymore. And it's just kind of this, like, there are seasons of life that are just chaotic and I'm just in maintenance. And I've learned to kind of accept that there will be, seasons where I don't feel like I'm making progress. I'm just continuing keeping up, and that's okay. But then I've learned to try to take advantage of the little bits and snatches of time or the seasons where things are just a little bit calm between the storms.
Mhm.
And I've found like it really is encouraging because even on days when I feel like my house is chaotic and it's trash and it's never going to be clean ever again, then it's like, okay, I've worked on it. Maybe I'll work on it for a couple hours and it's like it's good. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's good for me to remember to like look back and think of how far I've come. And in some ways, like I want it to have been like tricky. I want it to have been like, oh, well, there was this secret that this equation that I just had to fix. No, it's like I just had to do the thing and then do it again and then do it again and get rid of stuff and get rid of more stuff. And my best friend kind of makes fun of me because I've gotten to the point where like my kids bring home an endless supply of paper from school.
Yes.
They're all three in school now. And we'll get through their Friday folders at the end of the week or whatever. And I go through and I'm like, yep, 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 yep. And I usually try to pick like one thing that is gonna go in there like little I have a sentimental box for each of them. But one thing. I keep one thing and then everything else gets read and pitched. And even that mentality shift is so huge because I used to hold on to every single sheet of paper that came into the house from,
Yes.
the kids would spill on a sheet of paper and I'd be like, oh, immaculate, and I keep it.
Yep.
And so just, feeling the shift in my own tendencies has been huge because, I think a lot of sort of the slob problems is like it's kind of coming to grips with your own self and your own personality. And
Yes.
so, yeah, being part of the kindred spirits, seeing that I'm not alone, but also seeing that like it is possible to change sort of the defaults and it's possible to kind of change the baseline so positively has been very encouraging for me. And I think it clears up a lot of mental space. Like, my job and life requires so much sort of mental and emotional energy a lot of times, and not having just kind of this constant background noise,
Yes.
wondering, am I going to have clean clothes for the kids to wear tomorrow? Am I going to have a clean pan to cook dinner with tonight? Like it, just not having to think about it is
Yep.
so freeing.
Yep. I love it. I love it. That's huge. I mean, I think that's the power of all this. So I appreciate you so much. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thank you. I
And
appreciate you and everything that you
thank
have
you.
done to equip all of us. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Didn't you love that conversation? I just had so much fun, and there really is no secret. Don't we all wish there was a secret, but there's not. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about being a patron, go to Patreon, patreon.com/aslobcomesclean to find out more, find out about our new perks and levels, and we'll see you over there. And don't forget, take your house back on sale, aslobcomesclean.com/take. All right. I'll talk to y'all later.